Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Defenders Live. I'm your host, Laura Thorson. My guest tonight is Command Sergeant Major Sean Keane, a retired Special Operations senior enlisted leader with more than 30 years in the U.S. Army. Sean was one of the youngest soldiers to complete Special Forces Assessment and Selection and Qualification course, and he went on to serve in critical roles across Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Central Africa, and Central and South America. Most recently, he helped oversee more than 2,000 U.S. and coalition special operations personnel during high-stakes operation in the Middle East. Today, Sean is writing a very different chapter as an apprentice mezcalero and the founder behind Oaxaca Agave. In this conversation, we explore what it means to redefine yourself after decades in special operations, how the 80% rule applies to everything, and why common sense in the special operations world isn't always the same in the outside world. If you're navigating change, chasing mastery, or learning to operate without perfect information, you won't want to miss our conversation tonight. Before we get started, make sure you're subscribed, whether you're watching on Rumble or YouTube or listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you find this show. If you don't want to miss another episode, head to defenders-live.com and become a free subscriber. That way, every new episode gets delivered straight to your inbox. And if you're looking for top-tier firearms and self-defense training, go to defenders-usa.com and check the calendar to see what's coming to your area this year. Thanks for coming on the show. I'm a little bit nervous. I honestly, I've never had someone of your rank on my show, and I'm kind of not sure what to do with it. I'm very honored. Thank you for your service to our country.
I appreciate it, but like anybody, it's just a job we did, you know. I loved my job, but just a job.
30 years, though.
It was, and it's weird thinking about it. It's like 2/3 of my life. I'm about to turn 55 here in a couple of months. So retired, close to 5 years ago when I retired. It was kind of crazy to walk away suddenly. Next thing you know, you're no longer in uniform anymore, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a completely different world. I'm curious. I kind of want to start at the beginning because since you said you have time for it, and if you're willing, I'm just curious about Sean before the military a little bit, because I wonder, how did you end up there, and the guy that you are today, was that shaped mostly by your military experience, or was there something before that drew you to the military and made you who you are?
So my father served 37 years in the Army. So I was raised, so I was raised in the military, you know, being at Fort Knox, Fort Leavenworth, a bunch of different places through my dad growing up in Germany and Stuttgart and Grafenwehr. So grew up in the military atmosphere, moving around. And then when my dad retired out of Florida, when we kind of came back. We were in and out of Florida. So I was born in Tampa, out to Germany, came back to Florida like in, I think like the late 70s when I was like 8 years old or so. And then later on came back and finished up high school in the same house there in Satellite Beach. And then later on, I would go to University of Florida through the military, actually. But yeah, so I already had that. It seemed like natural to go that direction. And my brother served 20 years too. He was an Apache pilot. He's older than me, and so it just seemed like the natural progression to go into the military. But it was. So I was pretty much Surfer Sean then too. You know, I pretty much like this in my hair out of high school. Yeah, and then it was a very dramatic thing. And people talk about what's, you know, the hardest training, yada yada kind of thing, and they're all different kinds of hards kind of thing. But I think probably the most dramatic time was coming from Beat Sean, and I went to basic training infantry school in Fort Benning. And, you know, shaving your head, now you're thrown into the cage with all the animals, and you're not used to that. And that was a very dramatic time in life, especially killing a kid coming out of high school in the beaches, you know. So it was an interesting time to get over that and kind of be part of the machine that is the infantry machine kind of place, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were somewhat aware of that, it sounds like, based on your family. But was there anything that was particularly, I don't know if shocking is the word, but something that it took you a minute to adjust to, that you just were like, whoa, this was not what I expected? Or was it all just
It was so,
Pretty normal for you.
it wasn't that normal for me. So when you grow up, when you're raised in the military, you're always around the same kind of military community, right? You run into them later on in life, kind of thing. So all generally the same community. And in the beach town where I lived too, and I grew up in Satellite Beach, where I finished school. It's different kind of people. They're all surfers and stuff like that. So when you're thrown like into Benning, where it's just for people from all different types of life in the world, and they're all thrown together, and it's just such a unique thing of trying to get all these different pieces to be able to move in the same line, same direction, and work as one machine. So it was an interesting experience going to Benning. By the time, obviously, when you're done, to shave your head and everything. By the time you're done, you're a well-oiled machine as an infantryman kind of piece.
So it just over time you integrated into becoming part of the machine, so to speak, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's just kind of rolled into it. And originally I was not wasn't going into the special forces. Originally I was going to go air defense, Black Hawk missile system or something, because originally because I was thinking as a kid, like, well, I need to go find something that's going to give me experience when I get out, and not that will really give me experience technical side, but that's just in your mind, you're thinking that. And then my dad introduced me to one day to two gentlemen, which I'll never forget. They were both SF Green Berets, Ranger, combat divers, all that stuff. And they were the most competent guys I've ever met in my life. Everything they did, everything about them. They weren't cocky at all. It was just competent and confident. And I was like, man, I want to be like that. And that's how I found out how I could go that direction. And that's how it kind of opened up for me. I had no idea I could go that direction until I met those two individuals.
Wow. Isn't it amazing how just one meeting like that can change everything? That's so wild.
But that's been my whole life, and that's kind of, we'll fast forward later on, about getting into the mezcal world and meeting my maestro. It was the same thing. It was a coincidence of meeting him and being able to get that. But my whole life.
You believe in coincidences, Sean?
I don't, maybe, maybe was that perceived serendipity kind of thing?
I don't believe in coincidences anymore.
I don't think so either. I think they're all designed for because there's always been indicators, the directions I went based on the people I met, and there was always things, I hate to say guiding me, but there's certain things happen for certain reasons to go certain directions, So truly believe that. And then you can always tell when you're trying to force something and it's wrong. It's like, man, something's not right. Especially as we get older, we have experience and knowledge. It feels wrong in the guts. It's like, this is wrong. We're trying to square into a round hole kind of thing. So I have a lot of that experience on that piece there.
That's so cool. I love that you met these guys and looked up to it. Like you instantly had this gravitation towards them for all the right reasons, because some young guys, I'm sure, and women too, meet the wrong people and gravitate towards them for the wrong reasons and end up down a path that they really regret later. So that's really inspiring.
So when I meet other soft guys these days and young guys, and I meet them, so I said, you don't realize what you represent. When someone meets you, if I don't know if I can say if you're gonna be a shitbag, guess what? People are gonna look at that and they don't want to be that kind of thing. I remember what was it Admiral McCraven? He was the 4-star SOCOM commander. Him and I were down in Central America. We're sitting around chat one day, and he goes, "Sean, you know why I'm a Navy SEAL, not a Green Beret?" I was like, "No, I don't." He goes, because my sister was dating a Green Beret, and I hated that guy. So it truly,
that's wild.
It truly is, your representation, how you move, everything about you, and just you got to realize that people don't send that. It's like, hey, people are looking up to you as, if you don't know if you're a mentor or not, but they're looking up to you, and their life decisions can be made off that one meeting.
And the other thing I wanted to lead into is like, everybody has special gifts, things that you are just naturally strong in and things that you're just not naturally strong in. And I was looking into this because I had to educate myself on some of this, Sean. And we talked earlier about this before we pushed record, which is like, I unfortunately am ignorant about a lot of things regarding the military that I need to be more well informed on. I said, if I ask you a dumb question, please, just educate me if I need to be educated. But I did go and educate myself on this one particular area in your bio. And I wanted to read this to the audience too, because I don't know what this is. Special Forces Assessment and Selection. You have an acronym for it. You guys have an acronym for everything. But it's a 24-day, I'm reading this verbatim, a 24-day high-intensity evaluation designed to assess a candidate's physical, mental, and psychological readiness for special forces. And you were one of the youngest people to complete this. And it says that the test core attributes are essential for the success in special operations. They include integrity, courage, perseverance, personal responsibility, professionalism, adaptability, teamwork, and capability. Like all of these things, I'm like, these are all the things I promote on my show. These are all of the areas of life that I seek to find people who are excellent in one or many of these areas to bring to the table to inspire other people to be better humans, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And some of the ways that they bring these out in you, according to this, and this is on Google, so you can tell me how accurate it is, but it says that candidates endure long ruck marches, often with 50-pound packs, land nav in all weather, obstacle courses, sleep deprivation, situational based exercises under extreme stress. And the goal is not just to measure fitness, but to simulate real world operational conditions. So you're performing under duress. And over half of the initial 300 candidates typically drop out within the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So this is not a small thing. I'm just wondering, like, as I'm talking about, everyone brings to the table different strengths and weaknesses. I'm curious, was there in the beginning, was there particular strengths you saw right out of the gate of yourself and particular weaknesses you really had to work on or you struggled with that you had to work on?
I think a lot of those, yes. I was being so young going into it. So it used to be prior, you had to have 4 years military experience before even going to do this.
Oh, wow.
So they were testing on a new program or coming right out of high school. If you had a certain ASVAB TT scores and all that kind of stuff and physical fitness, so that you could go in at a young age out of high school, because of the other special operations were doing that already, had been doing that. But there's a reason they want maturity in the Special Forces Green Beret A teams, because you are a sole element. They could be 8-man team, but 12-man team, and you're in the middle of nowhere, only U.S. forces in that area. You've got to be able to do things. So they're looking for mature soldiers to be able to handle mature situations out there. So that's what they wanted experience on that. I didn't have any experience. I was 18 years old. The only thing I had was infantry school coming out of that.
Oh my gosh.
I think I had airborne school by that time too. Then I had to have airborne school going in, and so going into that. But when I went to selection, SFAS, two guys in there particularly. I was the one thing I think it helped me out. Two things helped me out. I was raised in the military, so I understood, military jargon. I understood military discipline, and all that kind of stuff. I knew all about that piece and because I lived it. Generally speaking, with my dad. But the other thing too was that I was a sponge. A young kid coming in, I didn't try to think I knew everything. I was quiet, a gray man, and I listened, and people guided me. And I did my best to make sure I looked for work, and I was always there to help, kind of piece. And two more individuals in that program when I was were going through with me. One was from Ranger Battalion, and one was from Force Recon Marine. And they took me under their wings, and they guided me and helped me, mentor me going through that kind of piece, And it was the last event, so they have like an individual week, then they have team week, which is kind of one of the toughest weeks. It's really kind of crushing. And then I love how they say 50 pounds. One of the events, you probably got probably about 180 pounds on you, and you're moving distance.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because extra sandbags kind of thing. But the last event is for SFAS back in that time was the 30-miler. It's you're doing it on your own. You got 30 miles to do, and you got it on your time. It's unknown distance, unknown time, I call it. But you knew it was about 30 miles, and you had a certain amount of time to complete it. 2 miles into it, I had broke my left foot. I had
oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
2 stress fractures on my second and third metatarsal on my left foot, and by the end of it, they had splintered so bad. So I had to relearn how to re-walk the whole distance to finish out that roughly 28 miles on that broken foot. But funny enough, I was lucky because guys were breaking their feet 2 or 3 days earlier, and they weren't going to make it. There's no way you could survive. Mine just happened to break that 2 miles into the last event, and they're like, I am not doing this over again. So you keep pushing and then make your time. You just find a new way to walk. And it's all hard, deep sand up in the mountains there and moving around. So it's not like hard
God.
packed. It is just a miserable walk for that distance. And you have, I think, about 55 pounds on you on that walk. That's dry. So dry means that's not including water or food or anything else you have on you. That's just so you have a certain amount of things you got to have on you, so your ruck has to weigh a certain amount. Yeah. If you want to add more weight to it, water, whatever kind of thing, you're going from that point. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was kind of one of those things you're like, and and I think what helped me get through, finally move on through selection and get selected to go through the pipeline, was because of that broken foot, and I finished in like 9 hours, I think, to finish it. And it was like one of those things like, hey, this guy ain't gonna quit. He's a young kid. He's not gonna quit. Let's get him in the pipeline. I think that was probably a good part of it too, of getting me in. And that kind of started
you talk about this so nonchalantly, and I know I know you've been through a lot of hard things in your life. It's obvious that you have conquered many things in your life, right? I understand that. But at that particular moment in your life, you are not this guy sitting in front of me right now.
No.
There has to be doubts going through your mind, or some kind of like, I'm only relating this to, this small 10-mile run, which to me might as well have been 100 miles that I completed. That was my big deal in my, fitness journey or whatever.
Yeah.
And the mental like battle I had with myself during that. Right. And you're talking about having a broken foot, which like exponentially makes it harder. And the sand. I mean, you add all these other elements to it. I'm thinking like, you're so casual talking about it now, which I understand it was a long time ago, but like while you were in that space, or was there another time where it was just like, have you ever felt that internal battle of, and how do you navigate that in real time? Do you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, but back then it wasn't an internal battle. It was just, lean into it, keep moving. That was, my mind was, there's a vehicle that comes up the back, like way, way back there, and has the headlights on. You start like at some ungodly hour. And you knew as that was getting closer to you, if that truck got you, you were in the back because you were not fulfilling that timeline to make that timeline. So you were just trying to keep moving ahead of it, and guys are passing you.
So there wasn't much thought about it, is what you're saying.
No, it wasn't thought. It was just, you're just, this is the last event. You're like, I'm not doing this again. This is my time.
So you had your mind made up no matter what. You were locked in.
Locking in, just going to get it done. Yeah. And so it was interesting. So in that time, again, this is back in 91, so it's like such a different time period back then compared to now when you go to the graduations or people's selection. Back then, when you came through, and when I got done, they put a cast on me and all that kind of stuff. And so you go into this barracks, generally speaking, old World War II kind of barracks, and they bring everybody in. And you only have numbers, right? So you're a number. There's no rank and all that kind of stuff there. You're 123. Mine was 123 at the time. And they get up there in front, and everybody's sitting there, and they say up to you, if we call off your number, move to the back door, move out to the back. And at that time, you don't know if the number's called or guys are moving on or the guys who are out kind of thing. So you just sit there, man, and they're calling numbers off and guys standing up and walking out the back. And at that time, man, I think we were down to like, I think 35 guys or less than that going through. I think it was less than that. Can't remember so long ago. And so, you don't get your number called, and you stand up, and then they go, gentlemen, welcome. You have been selected to continue on the Special Forces pipeline, kind of stuff like that. It was just a dramatic experience, as a young kid going through that. Yeah.
Right.
And it kind of continued from there when I went through the pipeline. I remember even when at graduation, I didn't have enough rank. I was only through like an E3, I think I was. And they wouldn't let me walk across the stage. And you could only have, at that time, 2 family members that come to the graduation. And so they put on sergeant rank. I think it was an E4 maybe or something. They put on sergeant rank on me because they wouldn't allow me to walk across the stage as an E4. I think back then it was E3 or E4. Gosh. And so they put the rank on me as I walked across the stage. You're like, you can't have it.
What?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Okay. And then as soon as I got out, they took the rank off. I was like, well, okay, getting get paid.
Have you always had this? There's something about you, Sean, that's very unique to a lot of people that I interview. You have this ease about you, for one, and secondly, there is this confidence, and I can see why it's there. I guess I'm trying to dial in on if it's always been there. Like you have this confidence about you, which is earned, right? But I'm like trying to find, is there a Sean in the past where that confidence wasn't always there, and how did that get built in you? Do you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm really trying to drill down on.
You're right. So we have a thing called like in the military, they call it the golden boy kind of thing. You always send the golden boy, he's always going to make it, whatever course they go through. And I was kind of one of the golden boys. Hey, Sean's going to make it a course too. But one day that golden boy wasn't so golden. And then, so I went through the Special Forces Underwater Operations, the combat diver course, which is just a physically and mentally just crushing course. They have a called weight belt swim. It's kind of hard to explain all these events, but they're pretty crushing. And I failed the weight belt swim. And what I love about the Special Forces combat diver course is there's no recycle. You're gone. You don't make the time, make a standard. You're on a plane that night. You're gone. It's over. Kind of thing. And I was on a plane that night, and I was no longer the golden boy. Now I went back 2 classes later, and I completed the course and finished it. And I knew that I undertrained, but then I knew how to train for it. I knew what was going on, and just it's like, so that at that point, that's where your cockiness, your confidence is taken away. Suddenly you got hit in the stomach, and your air is taken away for a second. And you came to a reality because you're not so golden. Everybody has a failing moment, and just how you recover from that failing moment. A lot of guys wouldn't go back to that course, because it is, man. You're, lack of air. It's so the POI is the same as BUDS when it comes to all the underwater operation stuff like that. Drown proofing, all that kind of piece, and you get it down there. And the guys you're with down there are just hardened dudes. They're all former special operations guys, they're current special operations guys, and stuff. So you're going through this course, and our attrition. We started off with 65 in that class, and we finished with 17 in that class. The class that I went back and finished. Kind of piece. And these are hardened guys. These aren't kids going through going to the Navy, going to the courses. These are guys who have done 5, 6, 7 years of special operations. Wow. And they know hard times, and they weren't making standards and times down there, kind of piece. Wow. But that was a punch in the gut for me. And even people, when I came back, they said, you're different. You're not as cocky in a better way. You matured. You're not that kid walking around with an SF tab, Ranger tab, and a combat diver bubble. You've matured, and I think that was a turning point in my life of reality that failure is always sitting there, is always sitting on one of your shoulders, and it's always a possibility, and that point is, and then we always talk about now is set the conditions. It's now everything I did from that point was, set the conditions for your success. Understand exactly what you got to do and train for exactly what you got to do.
That was what I honed in on. That was exactly what I was going to bring out in what you said, which was, you said, I learned that my training was not good enough and I needed to train better and go back and try again. Yeah. And what I find interesting about that, and this is probably, again, just based on your training in the military, but many civilians struggle with this, me included, which is taking the emotions out of it, looking at it objectively as, here's where I went wrong. Here's how I fix it and do it again. Yeah. And in firearms training, we call it emotionless correction. And it sounds like you have mastered that. Yeah. And it sounds like that's just kind of a part of who you are. So like when you fail, you're not looking at it as going into the shame cave, like I'm a piece of crap now because I failed. You just look at it as like objectively, here's where I'm weak. And I need to work on that and then go back and fix it. And it's like, there's no drama about it. It's just the way it is and figure it out.
There's no doubt about it. There's a blow to your ego. It's a blow when and that's failure is one of the worst things in special operations. This is, if you fail something kind of thing, but it's a reality. Some courses you go to, they have called an NTR, which is never to return. Is once you are fail out or something happens, you're kicked out kind of thing. You get an NTR, and you don't get that in the military. Most places you go, there are only certain courses you go to. You get that never to return. So if you fail, you're not coming back. Period. Wow. And it's interesting when you have that failure, sitting there on you. You can't really think about that. You don't allow it because it'll eat you up. But it's one of those things to understand when you're going in. So this is my shot. Then I want to make sure I've trained the best I can. And that's what we talk about, the 80% solution. And that's true.
Go into that if you'd like to.
Yeah. So it's the reality of life, especially back in modern days, is you could only train up for something for about 80%. And you can't do 100%. It's just, especially in special operations, because it's the 20% is the unknown. That's what they're looking at you for. We know you can do push-ups and sit-ups and ruck and fin and do all that kind of stuff. It is when we put you in situations, that 20% of the unknown, that's what's going to separate those who move forward and those who don't. And that's the key thing. But in life is you can only train up 80% for it. And it's that 20% unknown that's really going to determine who you are as a character, your capabilities, your values, your morals, your character, to be able to move forward or not. And that's a key thing, I think, in life when I do things now. I always look at the 80% solution,
Yeah. Well, and that's really like, honestly, it seems like that's where the rubber meets the road. Like, the uncertainty of life, which is inevitable, comes for all of us. And change is inevitable no matter what. And so you kind of equated that to your success after the military, didn't you? The 80% rule, because you prepared for what you could prepare for?
It could. And so it's like a good plan executed today is better than a perfect plan executed tomorrow. And what people don't understand that is like, there is no perfect plan. Tomorrow, you're just going to get additional information. You're going to push it back, or we call it the good idea fairy. It's going to pop up. Blah, blah. If you have a good idea now, a good plan today, a good plan executed today, and move. And that was kind of it's been the whole career that way, and that's how you kind of, because there's, like I said, there's no perfect plan. If you have an 80% rule and you have what you need, you execute the plan and go forward with it. And that's kind of what happened when going down to Mexico was the same way, and creating the brand. I had an 80% solution. My Spanish was not good, hablo un poco, but they also speak Zapoteca down there, the tribe, so it's different there. But when I hit the ground there, I had 80% solution, but, I'm not sure I would want to go far into this right now or not, or you want to,
It's fine, yeah. It doesn't need to be in any particular order. It's fine.
So when I hit the ground down there, I had gone earlier and met Maestro Mezcalero, but when I hit the ground down there, it was 6 months. I hadn't seen him in 6 months. And the plan was, he came to me after working with him and said, hey, if you truly want to understand mezcal, then you come live with my family and live with me, and I'll teach you mezcal. And that's how it came to the apprentice kind of piece. Just a little more to it. But
and that's a big deal, right? They don't do that.
No, especially as a gringo, My friend down there, who's Bernardo, he's my producer down there, and he lives down in Mexico City, in Oaxaca City. He looked at me and goes, hey, man, and he's from down Mexico, and he's like, this has never been offered to anybody else, gringo or non-gringo, from him. So I would take this if you get an opportunity. I said, heck yeah, I'll take this, And that really, meeting him, changed everything, how this brand went and the direction it went, and how it all became, And one of the funny things, I always call myself the gringo apprentice mezcalero. But when you're down there, I talk to the guys, they always stop me and they say, you're not a gringo. And I'm like, in their broken English. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, we look as gringos, businessmen in ties and suits, men who don't do hard work. We look at that as gringo. Down the fields goes, you are not a gringo. You are welcome here. You're one of us, kind of piece, It's hard to say that when they're all 5'2" and I'm 6 foot, right around the field.
Yeah, you don't really fit in down there.
No. They're used to me, though.
According to them, work ethic wise, though, you do fit into their family.
Just go do hard work. But when I got down the ground and landed in Oaxaca City, my point of contact, Bernardo, he was over in Europe and he had to extend his time. So I hadn't seen him yet, and he was supposed to be on the ground to help me, kind of thing. And I was like, well, I'm still moving forward. In order to find the Palenque, the mezcal distillery where I worked, it's been a while, but before going down there, I zoomed in the map, found the town, zoomed around, found the Palenque on the map, identified it, and I created a general plan, because there are opportunists everywhere in the world. People are like, hey, is it safe down or not safe? It's like, hey, Jacksonville, Florida, I can go bad parts of town where it's not safe, or good parts of town, anywhere in the world, kind of thing. So created a plan. I still had friends still inside with the CIA. I had friends still in the military. So I created a kind of generally a pattern of life. I'll be at known location, known times, and I give them a map, this time location where I will be at as I went along my journey. Passed it to them, going, hey, if you don't hear from me, we did a whole thing of link up conversations. If you don't hear from me, this is my last point of contact, my last known location. Come find my body, kind of thing, And that was the whole plan. Yeah, but you had to be prepared for that, the worst case scenario. Even go down there. But even my med kit down there, to my mind, was like, hey, I need to keep myself alive for 24 hours. So bring my med kit to keep myself. Any kind of injuries I need to get out there, nowhere to take care of myself. Build from there. But yeah, so it was an 80% plan. I said, go with it. And so when I showed up, the maestro was kind of like, I hadn't talked to him in 6 months, and because they're just down there working the mezcal, and they're not really a whole lot of Facebook going on with those guys.
Yeah.
So I showed up, and kind of looked at me, and we got to work, and I took my, got my gloves on, took my gloves off, and went to work, and they just started teaching me, and they realized that I was there to work. So I'm, scooping the horse shit.
Do you think that they were surprised by that a little bit?
I think they were. Because at first they were kind of humoring me a little bit, and then they saw that I was getting away from like little turista kind of stuff, and I was going to do the hard work, and they're like, okay, I think he's actually here. And so they really started dialing me in, going, okay, earn your way in here. So inside the Palenque, I had to earn my way. Like I said, I scooped the horse shit while still learning all the process and all the little things in between, but still every day was just kind of earning your way with those guys down there.
It's a very primitive process. I'm gonna edit some videos into this, but it's so funny because I'm a horse girl. I grew up with horses, and the first thing I noticed was the horse, and I was like, that horse looks pretty healthy. They're taking good care of him. But I thought, man, I wonder if they ever let that horse go the other direction.
They do not.
Really, I bet his muscles are developed a particular way from pulling one way the whole time.
It is, but they don't have them on. They're really good on time-wise because they know that horse is very important to the process. So they only have them on for a certain amount of time, and then we pull them off, get in the field, and he goes eat and relaxes, kind of thing. And you stop quite a bit because once you crush the agave, you got to flip it and you got to pull it out, kind of stuff like that, So the horse is, again, well taken care of.
Yeah, I could tell his coat was shiny. He looked happy.
Yeah, they're very good with
still,
him.
I was like pulling one way the whole time.
He's pulling that giant wheel, that big giant Tahona wheel.
That was a big wheel too.
It's a heavy wheel. I can push it with no agave in there, but when you put agave in there, man, it's a bear, man. That's why that horse is, crushes that thing moving around, But again,
cool.
I met a family in Oaxaca City, and when I leave Mitla, little town I work in, I go to Oaxaca City, and I kind of decompress for 3 days before I come home. And I kind of walk around the city and move around and kind of do the turista thing, and ran to a family. I was chatting for a bit, and the girl brought up, we really want to go to look at a Palenque. Now, the Palenque I work at, it is not a turista location. It's not a tourist location. It is there. We make mezcal. We're out of beaten path. But she's talking about the horses. No. And I said, I stopped her right there, and I said, this is Mexico. This is their horses. They use them for work. They take care of their horses. They may not be what you think in the United States. So I would be very gentle and very careful what you say to any Palenque about the horses.
No, I wasn't implying that.
No. I didn't think you were, but it was just it's funny though. Some of the people come down and go, no, you're not in a third world country, but you're in a different country and things work.
Right. Yep, I totally get that. I wanted to, for the audience, since we dove into this topic, I had to look up what mezcal was, and also while I was looking that up, because I'm very curious about things, I looked up your name, Oaxacan agave, because that is so weird to me. I didn't even know how to pronounce it or what I was even saying, so I looked it up. And first of all, Oaxacan is a Gaelic form of your Irish surname, Keane, which means, it translates to battle or warrior.
Yes, ma'am.
Duh, this makes sense now. Okay. And then agave refers to the plant that's used to make mezcal. And whenever I looked up what mezcal is, because I'm not well versed in that either, and for the audience, if anyone wants to know, mezcal is a distilled alcoholic beverage made from the heart, also called the piña, of over 30 types of agave plants, primarily produced in Mexico. But tequila is a type of mezcal, but not all mezcal is tequila, I learned. Because tequila is a specific kind of mezcal made only from blue agave. So I learned something new today, Sean, when I looked that up.
So it's interesting when people say that, and I always say that, they say, well, tequila is mezcal, mezcal's not tequila. And I always say, nah, that's not true, even though it says that.
Oh, really?
It's so two different processes. Now, originally, back in the original days, when a traditional way of making tequila was the same style of making it like mezcal's made, artisanal mezcal's made. But tequila's gotten so far away from that line. The machines they use and the stuff they use, it's all really focused on quantity, not quality. The stuff they do, not all tequila's that way, but a lot of the big brand tequilas are that way. And then when you actually see mezcal is one originally was traditional. It was designed for the Christmases and special events, weddings, all that kind of stuff, because there's more to it to make it, and more all by hand and how they cooked in the ground and so forth like that. But to be
And
called
that's why
tequila,
you love it so much, isn't it? It's the process of
it
it and the
is.
tradition behind it. That seems like to be what you really love.
It is, and that was what, kind of rolling even back, when I went down there for my first time, when I fell into they always say mezcal finds you, and mezcal found me. When I retired, and so I actually ran for mayor in this little town here, Atlantic Beach, and I think it's still sticking behind me, Sean for mayor back
Oh,
there.
yeah.
But I was looking at, I drank a lot of bourbons and whiskeys and IPAs and stuff like that. You see them all behind me back here still. But I was looking for a healthier way. My son was 6 years old at the time, 6 or 7, and I was looking for something different and healthier, but still wanted a good drink. And so I wanted tequilas, and I focused on tequilas, trying different tequilas. But you kind of find out, so to be called a tequila, you only have to have 51% agave in it. So you can add mixtos.
Really?
You can have caramels, vanilla, stuff like that. So a lot of big brands, the flavor you're tasting is those mixtos you're kind of putting into it too. And so one day I had a mezcal through a friend of mine. And the first mezcal I ever had, it tastes like burnt tires. I was like, this is horrible. What is this stuff? It's terrible. And it goes right back to, you have to find the mezcal for you, kind of thing, And then as I dabbled around a little more and more, I found mezcals that I really liked. And then I had a mezcal fashion, which changed me forever. Once I had that mezcal fashion, it really focused my time to mezcal. Because mezcal, it is, you can look it up. It is probably the purest and best gut healthy liquor for you. Because it's 100% agave. It's still liquor. It's still going to take you 2 steps back, but it's not taking you 5 or 6 steps back. But it is 100% pure agave. The only thing we add is water. That's the only thing we add, and it's open tub fermentation. So with tequila, you add a foreign yeast, like a champagne yeast, to get the fermentation going. With us, it's called an open tub, right? So we put the agave in with water, and it is the natural area inside the palenque and everything else that actually does the fermentation. So what you're tasting is the agave plant and the fermentation from the area. So it's pure. It is one of the purest alcohols out there.
Wow.
And then that was it. And then the quality. In a world of convenience where everybody's skipping steps just to get things faster, when I went down there and saw how my maestro now, how he did it, all done by hand, there was no shortcuts, there was no skipping steps. Mezcal is done when mezcal is done. And I fell in love. It reminded me of the special operations thing, man. It's just, standards are standards all the time. And I absolutely fell in love with that. And I hadn't seen quality in a long time. And everything just dialed me right back into that. And that's what, again, you meet people and it dialed me into it.
I want to plug, while we're talking about it, I want to plug your website here. And for those that are listening and not watching, it's Oaxaca Agave, OKAHANAGAVE.com. You guys can go there to check out and learn more about the process, learn more about the backstory. There's all kinds of good information on that website about what you offer. I had a question around that. Oh man, it was right on the tip of my tongue and I didn't write it down, Sean. And so then you were talking about why you said that it reminded you of the standards of special forces. Oh, I know where I was going to go with that. I was wondering, speaking of that, it sounds like that whenever you left the military, there may have been a letdown, like going back to the real world. Based on this other world, you're so used to these high standards, and then going back to civilian life, like what was that like for you?
It was people hate. I tell them this all the time, and I think they hate it sometimes. I go, it was expectation management.
That's a good way to look at it.
I didn't expect things up here. I kind of expected things down here, so I couldn't be let down. That was kind of, don't put yourself in a situation where you can be let down. And so with the team guys and all those guys out there, you expect a lot of those guys, but when I come out here, if I keep my expectations low, I can't be let down, so I kind of look at it that way.
That's kind of sad to think of it that way, though, in a way, but it's just reality, I guess.
It's just reality, and it just kind of keeps you level-headed, kind of piece, Well,
you said you talked about how common sense in special operations is not the same thing as common sense in the real world out here, outside of military. What did you mean by that exactly? Could you give us an example?
How people handle themselves and what they were doing routinely, like physically, and everything about it mentally. It was like, people are like, oh, I was like, well, that's common sense, and I get down to simplicity, right? I had a friend who was reading out here. He was reading Tom Brady's book, and Tom Brady talks about every morning I drink, 16 ounces of water the first time I get up. And he was telling me this. I go, well, yeah, that's common sense, man. Everybody drinks water in the morning. I don't understand what you're talking about here. It's nothing new here, everybody. But it was little things like this that I finally dial into, and it's just like, I don't understand why, So what I think is so common is not so common, especially in the world we come from. Like, if I see trash, I look for work. It's kind of, hey, man, things I do around the area, and I see people just skip by it, or they kind of just avoid little things. It's like, why aren't you guys just stepping up?
They can't even put their grocery carts back, Sean.
Yeah, but that's the problem, right? Once you go past those standards, it's like, well, I'm used to doing this bullshit or whatever over here, so
that seems normal, yeah.
And so now it's just easier. I just leave it there, and someone else's job to do that kind of thing, and that's not really the right answer, But it's those things that you think it's common, but it's not so common. I'll probably think of some more ideas here as I get through this thing. But again,
I think I saw a video recently that I related to, and not like I'm, all that great or anything, but I did relate to it, which was something about high performers don't like being around mediocre people. And that sounds really bad, but I've noticed as I've gotten older and as I've held higher standards for myself, that my standards for the people around me are different. And and it's not against anyone. It's just my preference for people is very, like, I have a small group of people I even care to be around anymore. Does that make sense?
No, it makes absolute sense, and that's what you tell your kids, growing up, you can hang out with this bunch of kids over here that are doing no good and doing absolutely nothing in life, and they're kind of just getting by. Or you hang out with these kids over here who are higher level and they're pushing themselves and doing things. Guess what? If you go with this crew, you're going to radiate this way. If you go this crew down here, you're going to radiate that way. So it's about the people you surround yourself with, no matter about it, So now that I'm retired out here, we're retired from mezcal, I guess. But I don't hang out with any military personnel. My old team guy stuff, we keep in touch. We see each other once in a while. But I don't hang out with any military. I think it's an alpha mentality kind of thing. Special operations, we're on the teams together, do all this stuff together. But when you're out here, you kind of have your own clan in a weird way, But the guys I hang out with here, I come to find out they're alphas in their own way. The males and females, they're alphas in their own industries, because we know what it takes to get to where they were. Each of us in our different, industries kind of piece. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of focus. And so the people, people who haven't done that stuff don't really hang out, because you felt the same, generally pain. You've done a lot of hard work to get where you're at. And like you said, it's a small crew of people, or quality people that you surround yourself. Now you have plenty of other people you say hi to and you nod to and yada, yada, yada kind of thing. But you have a small group of people that that are quality people and have done certain things, and you can share things and be around them kind of piece.
Something occurred to me while I was just listening to you, and you're probably going to think this sounds weird, but I hear stories online about the struggles of military guys retiring, going back into civilian life. I hear all of the horrible stories, right? And of guys just really like spinning out of control, spiraling, lost, don't know who they are anymore. Their identity's been in the military for so long, and really bad things are happening. And I look at you and watch you, and I'm like, this guy seems so well adjusted, and I'm not sure what to attribute that to. And I'm not saying you're perfect or anything. I'm sure you're a mess in some ways. We all are. We're human. We make mistakes all the time. What are the things what is your growing edge right now? What are the things that you are working on personally?
Well, I tell you what helped me out a lot. So when I came out of the military, why are
you smiling?
When I came out, it was just kind of funny. Yeah, my wife's probably back there. But when I retired out of the military, the day my leave ended was March 14th, 2000. 2020. Where am I? Where? 2020. 2020. God, I'm going to my head.
Yeah.
COVID hit.
Right. Yeah, that's the month it hit. Yeah.
So I was already in retirement mode. I knew I was coming out. The position was already getting filled from my back cuff. And so what we do, we have like kind of a decompression for special operations. The program you go through, it's anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 months. And it's what it does, it kind of looks over all your injuries. They kind of go through a mental look at you kind of thing and all that kind of stuff, decompress you. And it helps build a packet for your veterans VA physical stuff going in. I didn't have that because of COVID. Everything was shut down.
Wow.
I did all my medical stuff through down in SOCOM down there in McDill, had all my stuff done there and managed to get through things, but I didn't have the decompression. I didn't have the evaluations. I had a little bit of it, but not at the level that our guys at this level come out and do. So one of the things I did, it just, again, ran into people, and they're good friends of mine now. They own Jack Surf and Paddle, Tom and Tiffany. We're drinking, and there's a little bar inside the surf shop, and it's illegal. It's a beer and wine bar, and they're like, I was talking about, I always wanted to be a little bartender kind of thing, And they said, why don't you come bartend for us? And I said, you can come in whenever you want, do your thing, kind of, we'll teach you another thing. But it was just beer and wine, simple. And I said, yeah. So that helped me immensely because I got behind that bar and served beers, and I listened to people and listened to their issues. Everybody thought that I owned the bar or I owned the surf shop. No one knew my military background or nothing. And so it was able to listen to everybody's stories and it kind of, in a way, let me decompress behind that bar. And it was a weird thing to do, but it let me hear about society, all the problems in society, and kind of take myself out of the war atmosphere, generally speaking, and come back to reality of what goes on in America, kind of piece. But I think that immensely helped me on that piece. So, I mean, we all go through things. Trust me, I had I did do a psych eval through Mayport Naval Station here, the psych lady here. But I knew my triggers, and so for a little while there, I had my triggers, but I knew how to stay away from my triggers mentally. Because the key thing, a lot of times you go from 1 to 10, and that's a problem. You slowly escalate, right? It goes right to 10. Mm-hmm. Me sometimes.
Not even slowly escalate sometimes. Yeah.
And for me, but the conversation for me in my mind was there's certain people, they don't know how to handle 5-way stops and circles and stupid things like this, right? Hey, buddy, my son is swinging by here. Yeah, go upstairs. Take the boys upstairs. Don't be loud. But I knew my triggers. I knew how to stay with it because in my mind was if someone did something and I was going to stop them and they told me to F off, how was I going to react to that? And I had to talk myself through that prior to any incident happening. Because our minds work in they call it the OODA loop, ODAA, observe, decide, act, assess. And so our minds are constantly just wrapped around this OODA loop. And it's wearing. It wears at you mentally and physically. And even out here, my mind is still in that OODA loop, especially when I got out. So I had to talk myself through it. If that guy told me to F off, my natural reaction would to be crush his soul kind of thing. And I knew so I didn't want to approach it. So I knew to back off, or I knew when to stay away from certain things. And people didn't mess with me. I had long hair, just surf for Sean kind of thing, blending back in, but I had my triggers, and I still have triggers these days. I'm smart about it, but I stay away from those triggers as best I can until you have to step up and handle something, but it's understanding your triggers is huge in anybody getting out. And then if you know your triggers, you stay away from those triggers until the triggers slowly disappear. Kind of thing. Or it's like squeezing a pistol trigger, right? You can adjust it on a rifle or a long gun. You can adjust that squeeze, which is a feather squeeze, and that's when your really trigger's going off. And as time goes on, you can adjust that trigger to really hard pull, and it takes a lot to squeeze that trigger. And that's where you should be in time. It should be a point that trigger is so hard to squeeze that you're not worried about squeezing that trigger. You're not going to squeeze it.
So you're putting separation between you and the trigger so that you allow that space and thought process rather than just an instant reaction is what you're saying. Yeah. And at first you're avoiding it, but you're saying over time you can learn to still be in those situations, but know how to navigate them.
Yep.
If you've been listening to Defenders Live and something in you knows it's time to go deeper, not just in your training, but in your life, become a paid subscriber of Defenders Live. Each month we meet for a live group call, having real conversations about physical growth, emotional discipline, and spiritual strength. You'll be part of a growing community of people just like you, committed to becoming true defenders of life and of their families. This isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, doing the work, and not doing it alone. So go to defenders-live.com and become a paid subscriber and take your next step toward becoming the kind of defender this world desperately needs.
still has their
like
time.
anybody that understands their triggers as a human being on the planet is a good idea, whether they've been in the military or not. Like,
yep, you're absolutely
I think
right.
like this process of facing the things that you want to run away from and doing it in an honest way, an authentic way, for me has been one of the scariest but most transformative things that I've done in my life. And to me, that kind of work is heavier lifting than anything I could do in the gym.
Right. It is. You're right.
It is harder. And I think for men, especially, like, honestly, I feel for men in this society because I feel like that even talking about those things to some men implies some sort of weakness
Yeah.
or just repress everything, don't deal with anything and it'll go away kind of deal. And like, we all know that's a lie. Like, that is literally a lie.
Yep.
And I see all of these strong men in the world who have so many things in their lives together, that are doing well in certain areas of their life. But when it comes to actually like facing the demons and the triggers and the things that like really drive them that they may or may not even be aware of, that's when they shut down and they don't want to look at that. And that is one of the hardest things to do. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. I just feel like the lifestyle and culture of American men has been perpetuating what masculinity should look like, in a way that is not serving to men at all. It's actually degrading men and driving them into early graves for various reasons.
Yeah.
And that honestly is just, it infuriates me.
Yeah.
So
You're right. You're absolutely right with that. You let that, and like you said, dying early because heart attacks or something like that too. Because all that
all of it.
people are just talking about physical injuries. Now, mental injuries affect the body physically, mentally. Have that weight of all those triggers or whatever it's going to be, holding that all stuff in, huge amount of weight. And then if it does go off, that trigger, and you blow up, it's a bad day for everybody around you, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like you got to find that. Let it, call it bleed out. Not like you're bleeding out, but when you're diving, letting you bleeding out the dive tanks. So you gotta let the stress relief out that, and figure out how to get that stress relief out.
In a healthy way, which is a whole other way. Yep. Right. Yeah. And I don't know much about the military, but what I do know is that there may be some unhealthy ways that that those guys let off some steam now and again.
Yes.
And it's like it's a culture that's totally okay to do that.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And back in our day, it was, hey, we trained hard, we worked hard, and we partied hard. And that was the mentality. And we drank a lot. When we were off duty, we drank a lot, and we did silly, stupid things. The mentality of that, from what I understand now, is starting to shift a lot these days, where a lot of the guys going through these training now or in these teams, they don't drink as much, they don't go out as much. In a way, I think as I think about it, it's kind of, in a way, hurtful for the team, because drinking together or having that kind of camaraderie is now, that's team camaraderie. And you're building that team kind of thing. You go out and have a few drinks, have fun kind of thing. Guys who get there and they just go home or go off by themselves somewhere, you're keeping yourself, and that does not build, because when you go to war, you've got to have that team, to be able to move and react to each other, and not as individuals. You've got to be as one going that piece. So I hear the stories right now that a lot of the younger team guys in different areas, whether Navy, Army, they're becoming more individual than they are actually team, which is not a good thing for our community if that's truly happening. Not saying you got to go out and get drunk all the kind of time, but you got to have that team camaraderie somehow outside too, or when you're moving
outside of training is what you're saying.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah. It's so crazy because I even feel bad saying this, because this is like the tiniest fraction of relatability to what you guys do. But even just the group of people that I train with on a regular basis, whether it's force on force training or firearms training or just any of the stuff that we do, we have a group of people in this area that we train together pretty frequently, a few times a year. And when we do train, we're training for days on end. And so I feel like, and I could be wrong, but I kind of feel that same camaraderie in some ways, especially the force on force stuff that we were doing. We were working in teams, and there was, a lot of trust going into that, even though it was all simulated, right? It wasn't the real thing or anything like that. But it is funny how those bonds form so quickly with the right people. And it is also funny how, the guy for me or the gal on the shooting line who's the best shooter is not always the guy or gal I want next to me, to go into battle, kind of a thing. It really is very little about competence by itself than it is about all these other factors. I've noticed.
That was the key thing that I love. People, there was different organizations, and their mentality is we got to have the guy who does the most pull-ups, the guy who does the most push-ups, the guy who runs the fastest. And that's the wrong answer. The wrong answer is you're looking for the right person, period. It may be that 80% guy. He gets an 80% in all his physical fitness, but he has all the mental pieces that needed to make right decisions. The right decision-making process is huge. I don't want the jackass who can, I don't care if you squat 300 some pounds. If you're not on my side and you can't make a correct decision how to move just and that kind of thing, it means nothing to me. So you're always not looking for the best person, you're looking for the right person. And it's such a key thing in anything we do in life. You want to hang around with the right people. I mean, that's the right people that be around kind of thing in that situation. And I remember who was a podcast came out a little while ago. I think it was a SOCOM podcast, and this command sergeant major, he said a great thing, and it was so spot on. I forgot about it because we don't train till we get it right. We train till we can't get it wrong. And that was the mentality that you have. We got it right. All right, we're done for the day. No. Train and train till you can't get it wrong, and that's just kind of that mentality, and not everybody has that mentality, and that's just the mentality that those are the people you want around at a certain thing. It can be wearing, I get it, but like I haven't, you talk about shooting, man, it's kind of sad to say, and I have my gun safe behind me here, and I haven't shot in over a year. Just you did it so much in the repetitiveness, and I haven't got behind a trigger in like a year, and I hate that. I'm like, I need to kind of get behind the trigger. I'm not sure where that came from when I was talking about this, but you think about a firearms day and stuff.
Put like 15 minutes of dry fire in a week, you'll be back.
Yeah, I know.
It won't be a big deal. Yeah.
Get back on it. I have like several things that were given to me retirement that I haven't even touched yet. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But I need to get back
well,
on
you've got other things going on. I mean, this mezcal deal, this is not a small thing. I mean, it sounds like you have just devoted yourself to this. So.
Yes, to a point, you still have to balance out. And it's funny because when I retired, I did not want to do contract work. I didn't want to deal with any of that stuff. Why would I leave what I was doing to go do something similar, but at a much lesser level kind of thing, speaking, And I saw a bunch of my friends who had gotten out, and I saw them overseas when I was still in, and I went up to them and I saw how they were living, how they're treated. I was like, it's like, nah, this is not for me. It's not who I am, kind of thing, So I knew I did not want to do that. I was planning to do really do nothing, just going to retire my wife, got a good job, and so I was going to. But reality of life came up to me. I was like, you just can't sit around and do nothing, kind of piece.
Oh yeah, no, you could not.
Yeah. It'll find whatever's going to do in life. It'll find you, Yeah. And that's my mentality. It doesn't mean you can't just sit around, but something's going to come along, and a passion's going to come along, and what you need to do next will find you as long as you're out there leaning forward and pursuing things and trying different things, kind of piece, it eventually blink you up. Piece.
I love that. I love that piece about there's action involved in this. It's not just a sit back and wait for somebody to knock on your door kind of a thing. Like, I think that people get that wrong sometimes, that and the 80% thing too is like, I think that there's this idea for some reason, even though people will say differently, the action behind it is that like, no, I'm going to wait and make sure everything is in line and perfect before I act. And it's like, no, you can't. And that's just not a way to live life, I don't think. I mean, it's a learn as you go process to some degree. You can prepare for what you can prepare for, but you've got to go for it without knowing. I mean, I wouldn't even be sitting here talking to you, Sean, if 3 years ago I would not have gotten in front of a microphone and just totally effed it up for 3 months straight. I just put the reps in. I looked like I can't even, I should just send you an old episode. I mean, the camera was like way up here. It was mounted. I was looking up at it. I had a ball cap on. You could barely see my eyes. I didn't know anything about lighting. I knew nothing about audio. I knew nothing about edit. I knew nothing about nothing. I just showed up like a friggin' mess And I did my best every time. I put the reps in, and 100 reps later, I looked a little bit different.
Yep.
100 reps later, I looked
Yep.
a little bit different. I just kept improving, kept improving, kept improving.
Yeah.
And the
Yep.
point of it was showing up,
Yep.
And so much of life is just showing up.
Yep. And leaning into it.
You know?
That's what happened down there in Mexico. It was just, heck,
Yeah.
messed up. I went from being at senior level until I'm scooping horse shit in Mexico as an apprentice in Mexico, and if you're not willing to put your ego behind, and then, redefining yourself, that is the key thing, is that if you have that problem, then you're not going to do well in life. You have to be able to be quiet, sit in the back, and be a sponge and relearn, and don't let your ego go and learn something new. And people see that, and they're attracted to that, and they love that, and they pull you, because people love that you're a sponge, and you're there to learn what they have, and they love it. Hey, let me teach you.
It's so rare, Sean. Yeah. It's so rare.
That must be.
Maybe not in your military world, but in the real world out here, it is rare to find people like that. It seems like
management.
To me.
Back to expectation management.
Your motto should not be lower your expectations. Like I think mine is like, not lower my expectations, but operate in a way that personally that is my standard for me, and care about that most. Yeah. Because I can only control myself. I can't control anyone else. And then when I see other people who are completely asleep or unaware or uneducated or operating in a way that is just not good for them, instead of looking at them and being completely on my high horse and judging them, I can look at them and go, maybe that's all they're capable of right now. Yeah. I don't know what's going on with them. You know what I mean? Like, that's not to excuse it, but to just be like, maybe that is just their reality right now, you know?
It is. Everybody's reality is a little different. And that's where you kind of think, hey, maybe there's something going on in life there, and they got going through the stuff, and that's why they're at that level kind of piece too. And you understand that. But there has to be a point in life, no matter what, I hate saying this, man.
You make a decision, though. It's a choice.
It is. You make a choice. I'm not big on giving second chances, because I've learned the hard way on giving second chances in the military, and that's why I'm to certain people out here. Got it. It really comes down to it. Does it affect you have an area of operation and an area of responsibility kind of thing? Does it affect my area of operation or my area of responsibility, my friends, my family? If it doesn't at that point, then I'm not worried about an expectation management at that point. But if it does, then it's something that I need to step up to and say, hey, what's going on here? What's going on? That kind of thing. And understanding what that is and how it affects everything around you kind of thing. But the reality of people are just, I don't know, man. I get second chances. Like I said, I've given it out a few times in the military. It's my guys under my command, and they let me down. And I was like, that's why I'm not a big, huge guy and second chances kind of thing. Not that I don't. Yeah,
that's a different thing.
Yeah. No, I do with my son, obviously, and people like that. But when I came back to the military, said hi, and those guys, I wasn't big on second chances on guys, unfortunately. Yeah.
People usually show you who they are.
They truly do, And you're talking about earlier about repetition, man, and I love that, because it's like we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is not an act; it is a habit.
Yeah.
In order to get good at shooting, you got to get habits. You got to go shoot. If you want to go do whatever
you
do,
got to suck at it for a while, and you gotta just be okay with sucking for a while.
Yeah. But
people hate sucking. They just don't like it. They don't want to be uncomfortable, right?
I mean, it's so funny. I just started picking up golf in the last couple of years. Because my friends golf, so I was like, I'll go play playing golf. Now my son plays a little golf too. And I'm bad at it. But when I first started playing. And that's another thing about when that's why I like kind of have just being Surfer Sean, because people have expectation management with me sometimes. And the first time I played golf, I go, knowing your background, I thought you'd be better at golf. You pick it up. I've never played golf before, man. So people expect certain things. I'm like, I don't do this. I've never played golf before, But now I've played it enough that I'm not surprised that when I hit a good shot. I used to be for a long time surprised when I hit a good shot kind of thing. But it's like, it's that thing, you put the repetition in kind of piece. But it's that whole expectation management. People are like, no, I don't. I never played golf before. I'm sorry that I've let you down. Knowing my background.
You're supposed to be excellent at everything.
I know. I'm like, come on, guys. And that's why I love just man, just keeping my hair long, people not knowing my background, generally
Yeah.
speaking, being mescaletero, because expectation manager
Yeah.
comes out and, oh, Sean, I thought you'd
Yeah.
be, I was just like, you know. So it's trying to just kind of keep that the gray man kind of in a weird way, kind of piece. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're
but you're
definitely
right.
doing it well.
Thank you.
You look very gray man to me right now.
Especially out the beach. Well, everybody knows me out at the beaches now. That's because I ran for mayor, so everybody knows me out here.
Oh
I
yeah.
move around,
Yeah.
kind of piece.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so
well,
go ahead. Sorry.
no, go ahead if you
No.
had something to say. I was just going to plug your website again before we wrap up.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I got to say it again if I can. How do I say it, Sean? Do it. Come on, do it for me.
Oaxacanagave.com. Yep.
Oaxacanagave. That's not like Hakuna Matata. That's what it reminded me of.
Hey, whatever you got to do to get, you got to have your the magic word.
Could you make a jingle?
Right?
Sean, let's make a jingle. That would help people know and be able to pronounce the brand better. This is a great idea. I just came up with a genius idea.
Well, people have a hard enough time doing the words, the agave plants on the bottles. You know, they're harder. Because I had to do the I'll do the. Did you already do the plug? I don't know if you did or not. I guess we did.
What?
You said you're gonna do another plug or something?
Yeah, I put it up on the screen. I put your website on the screen, and then I put your social media down below. Yeah.
So the bottle, and I always tell people this, is that coming from a world of teams, everything on that bottle I put there for a very specific reason on that label. Some have to be legally up on there, but everything on that bottle is I put it there for specific. No one designed it. I designed it. Because everything about it has this. Everything from the outer rim there, everything has a huge amount of part of what I'm doing down in Mexico and building this brand kind of piece. Even the corks, and we had to hand stain those corks down in Mexico because they were whitewood, and I wanted the teak to be able to trim and all. If we did all that hand staining down there, and everything has to be done in Oaxaca. We call it mezcal, one of the main states for mezcal. It's like tequila has to be done in Jalisco, something like that, in Champagne. We call it mezcal. It has to be done in certain areas, and that's kind of the focus we do down there. So all that stuff on that label, it was quite a process getting through. They call it a CRM. It's generally a mezcal board, a part of the Mexican government, and you got to get it approved through the Mexican government. So I think we went through eight rotations to get that approved.
Oh, wow.
The Mexican one, yeah. So it was quite a.
Well, my husband was looking on your website. He was trying to figure out where to buy it, and it looked like, from what he said, it was only in Texas. Is that correct?
No, nope. So you're Dallas-Fort Worth area, so you have several of the restaurants there, but Goody liquor store, and it's all on the website, the locations. And in Florida,
it's not looked very closely then. Yeah.
So it's mainly in Dallas-Fort Worth area right now, and in Northeast Florida, kind of my main locations. And then they call it on-site, on-premise, off-premise. On-premise is like restaurants, bars, and off-premise is like liquor stores. So we're in several different ones. But people are always like, well, man, you're in like 30 different places. They're all sparks. What I mean, if you don't fuel those sparks, they won't grow. It's just kind of me doing it. And the whole foundation, the money I put into this was, I put money into it. All my old teammates put money into it. Friends and family helped put money into build the foundation that is Oaxaca to where it is right now. And we run on financial fumes, but that's okay. We're still building, especially as a grassroots. I don't have any big star that's dumping millions of dollars in my brand, and that's not how I want it. It could be white label stuff.
And if you're not into alcohol, you can go to the website and buy merch, right?
Yep. You get shirts.
Yeah, you got merch on there.
Got some great shirts. They're quality shirts because I'm not going to make a quality mezcal and do a bad, non-quality good shirt, piece in there. And we're building. It's just, it's fun doing it, and I'm learning a lot. The hardest parts for this whole thing, everything south of the border is easy. Working with my maestro, working with the Mexican government, my producers everything down there, I find it easy. It's really straightforward. The more humans you add into the link, the more possibility of failure in your links.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. But everything north of the border is the hard part when you're trying to work with your distributors and different restaurants and talk. It's amazing of the over-promise. When you come from a world of under-promise, over-deliver, out here there's a lot of over-promise and under-deliver, and you run into the stuff like that. Quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
Everybody, but that's across the board, not just dealing with a brand, but other things I've dealt with people out there, and they have no problem, pretty much. I don't want to say telling a lie, but they're over-promising, and then like, oh, it happened, I over-promised. Oh well. was like, well, now if I overpromise, man, I would wreck myself to make sure I correct that, and that's the key. People don't want to like,
I totally agree with you. So I have another business that's a graphic design business, and I operate that way too. And under promise and over deliver. And I tell you, if you just do a little bit of that consistently, people are blown away by it right now, which is so sad and reveals the condition of our world currently.
You're right. You're absolutely
right. People are just blown away by being prompt and doing what you say you're going to do and doing it with a smile and actually having some energy about you. All of those things are just like, people just are like, it's like a moth to a flame kind of a vibe. People just are like, whoa, I can't believe that you got that done a day earlier. But it's like, shouldn't this just be the way it is? I don't understand. The world has changed so dramatically.
Shouldn't that be common sense and not under the fundamentals
of anything? It should be.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even in the military, and that's common sense to me.
Yeah. People show up and do things. I'm just like, I don't understand, Well, I'm sorry I'm 2 hours late, but you couldn't communicate to me that you were going to be 2 hours late. And people have this problem. Like, it's easy to communicate, man. Just, hey, let me know what's going on. We can adjust, we can fix. And it's crazy how people don't understand how just a simple communication can change the dynamics of everything, So it's, again,
or communicating promptly too is another thing I've noticed people struggle with. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. We do have to manage expectations.
You do it and you don't realize you do it, but
you're right. You're right. I'm realizing it as you're talking. I'm like, I do the same thing. Yeah. You're spot on, actually. It is hard to not be judgmental sometimes and be like, just because I think that and operate that way doesn't mean the entire world has to. And again, I get it wrong sometimes. I'm not saying I'm perfect or anything, but I do my best. I truly do. And even when I'm having a really hard day, I do my best that day. And sometimes that's not great, but I consistently do my best. And how can you lose by doing that? You know what I mean?
But again,
that's just the way I look at it.
The old, common sense is not so common should be a superpower. Common sense should be a superpower. So rare kind of thing. And that's just the way society is in a lot of things to deal with. It's like this common sense, guys. Just I don't understand what.
There's a little tiny piece of me. I'm in my mid-40s now, so there's no chance for me. But there is a little tiny piece of me that wishes I was this wise and in my 20s or 30s and went into the military or did something of bigger service. Not to say that what I'm doing right now isn't good enough service-wise,
right?
To help the world, but there's a piece of me that always kind of wonders,
I think just doing your podcast like this, I think that is kind of fulfilling that piece in a way, what you're doing. Because everybody finds their own way, and to fulfill certain things you do, because you may not have had a chance back then, but now life takes you different directions, and now you found your way to kind of, hey, this is how I'm fulfilling it now, kind of thing. Just talking.
Yeah, and this is easy for me, Sean. This isn't hard work for me, and I would do this for free anyway. It helps me. It helps my audience, and they're good conversations with really good people, and that's valuable to me.
It is, but that's.
I don't want to talk to everyone, but I want to talk to some people, certain people. Yeah.
And it's hard to, when I retired out of the military, my sister-in-law, my sister all the time, she said, hey, what you did for 31 years doesn't define you. And I was insulted by that. I said, I spent 31 years busting my ass to be where I'm at and did all this stuff. Yeah, it does define me. And several years later now, doing the mezcal things, she was right. It didn't define me. I redefine myself. You're constantly redefining yourself and going through that. But they say other people like, hey, you shouldn't judge people, put them in boxes, because my whole life is about reading people. If they act a certain way and do a certain way, guess what? They are a certain way. There's no, well, you shouldn't judge them. Nah, bullshit. I'm sorry. I have to, in order to keep my caution
I see what you're saying there. Yeah, because judgment is part of a God-given ability that we were given for a reason. And that's, you could look at that as discernment rather than judgment. Judgment's such like but I get what you're saying. I do. It's like if they are showing you who they are, don't excuse it, or, it just is what it is. Yeah.
You can't tell me when you walk into a room doing all the shooting stuff you do, you don't assess the room, you don't assess people. You do.
Absolutely. You have to.
Yeah. You judge them.
You have to.
Assess them.
Yeah. You have to.
Yep.
Yeah. I guess maybe the word I should have used was look down on them. That's what I
Yeah.
meant.
We're not looking down on anybody, just judging them.
Yeah.
You're putting them in what you, because you're going to categorize your threats kind of thing, and that's what you're doing. What are my high threats, what are my low threats? And that's how you're looking at people and based on what they've done in life. And it truly is, a lot of people are going to come back from certain things. That's who they are, second chances, right? Kind of thing. That's just the way life goes, kind of piece.
Yeah.
And that's what you said. Everybody does it, but when people say to me, well, I don't want to put anybody in a box, I don't want to define anybody. No, you have to define people. You have to give them doesn't mean they're always going to be that way, but I can look at people and I can tell you who's going to run, who's going to fight, what they do, what they don't do, and do I want them near my family? Do I want them near my house? Kind of stuff like that. Do I want them in my fire pit when we have fire? You're
totally
very,
agree with you there.
Thank
you for clarifying that, because the words I was using were not the words I meant. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's really good and clarifying. That makes a lot more sense to me. And it is true. Yeah, that is what I should be doing. And that is what I do every day. And it's because I care about myself and my family. And I think
regret is hard to live with. Regret is hard to live with. That moment you say, well, but I mean, it's okay. No, it's not okay.
No, your gut knows differently. Yep. Yeah, your gut knows differently. And I have made decisions against my own better judgment, just like you have.
Exactly,
and there was a piece of me that knew the whole time. There really was.
I live with that regret, I regret what I did. I knew better than doing that, but I let it go. My gut told me no, and I let it go because other people said, you should allow him to do this. And I said, okay. And I made the command decision to let this guy go do something. And I ended up being a turd, and I knew it. And just you knew it, man. That comes through experience. That comes through life, 18-year-old Sean didn't have that, 55-year-old Sean has that, and that's just kind of how it rolls, that piece.
And so now I'm really fascinated. I'll leave this the final question, and then we can leave. But because this just is getting better and better. So there was, when I'm like listening to you and reading you as much as I know how to do that. I think we all subconsciously read people without even knowing it, and I think some people are more aware and honed in on that than other people are, just in general. And I'm just curious if this is this something that you've kind of always innately had about reading people that you just refined in your military career, or was this just a completely trained thing? You know what I'm saying?
So I think there is you're naturally going to have certain things, but being in the military, it dialed it in. It really trained it and dialed it into where I am now, kind of thing. But even on the friends I have that I grew up with, man, they're still my best friends from junior high or less. I still hang out with them. We get together twice a year because there was a connection between those people. You naturally were drawn to them. They're naturally drawn to you. Similarities, whatever it may be, and they were good people, But I think what the military does, you naturally have it, and you can either nurture that or you can let it fade. And I think what I did in the military helped me nurture that and it dialed in. Because when you're overseas in certain places in Central Africa or the Middle East or wherever, or in South America, you really got to understand people, because people are different around the world. The cultures are different. The way they say things are different. Some cultures don't believe in lies. It's just what it is. Like we have a whole lying thing. And they're like, I did lie. Oh, well, no big deal, kind of thing. So you have to understand those people, and you're nourishing that, you're growing that. Is all my experience in that, my ups and downs, develop that more and more, and they kind of help you read people,
So did you do research on certain regions before you went there, on what their culture was and all of their lifestyle and how they spoke? So you did a deep dive on that prior to.
Depending how deep you want to go, and not too deep, but yeah, you understand their culture. If you have time, you understand the culture going into, and that's because you have to, when you're talking to these people, you have to understand what their mindsets are, kind of thing, Like even sunglasses, you take your sunglasses off. You never talk to someone with sunglasses on. With Americans, you can always tell Americans.
It drives me nuts.
When I travel, I do not look like American. Everybody thinks I'm Australian when I'm down there in Mexico, kind of thing. Are you from Australia? You look like an Australian surfer, kind of thing, But it's you can always tell Americans because they want to stand out, first of all. But when you're overseas, you don't wear sunglasses and talk to a man. You stay up to them eye to eye, not your sunglasses on. When I talk to people here, when they have sunglasses on, I go, hey, take your sunglasses off and talk to me. Would you mind? and they take your sunglasses
That
off.
is so funny you bring that up, Sean, because I was in a training class, and eye protection is a must, right?
Yep.
And a lot of trainers put on sunglasses as their eye pro. And I brought it up to them, like, it bothers me that I can't see your eyes while you're talking to me.
Yeah.
And some of them have changed out and put clear eye pro on now because of that.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting that you brought that up. So anyway, go on.
But like different cultures, you know, different aspects, how you cross your legs, how you shoulder bottom your feet, it's just different cultures have different thing. And having a understanding of that culture also gives you a bit of respect from them coming into that culture, because you are showing that you understand their culture a little bit, not that great, but you're showing a little respect that you did some information and understand those guys too. And I love
that's I bet that's why that you were invited into the mezcal community. And I bet that's part of it, because you respected them. They understood that. I mean, I don't know how much of that was like your experience or just who you are as a person, but that had to play a part in it.
I believe it did, you know, and kind of piece. And it's just, but you're right, just understanding the culture going on. And I think they realized that with that area, like you said, it's just sometimes just do hard work, get in, jump into there, do hard work, and people respect you doing hard. Say a lot, you know, you lean into it, keep rowing. It's just what you got to do. Just, you know, eventually in that hard work, you know, it's not like you're looking for piles of money, you know, like, oh, if you're thinking about money in this business, you're in the wrong direction kind of thing, you know. You should think about why you're doing this. And I'm not doing this to be a billionaire or millionaire. I'm doing this because I enjoy mezcal. I enjoy what I do. And I truly believe we're crafting some of the finest mezcal in the world. And I've been driven to it. And that's what my focus is. And where it takes me, it will take me from there, you know. As long as I keep on doing my hard work, and, you know, like I said, I enjoy what I do with it. You know, and enjoy the people too.
Have you ever heard of Simon Sinek?
I've heard of it. I've heard of him.
He has a video. I bet I've watched it 20 times over the last 5 years. I think it's called The Power of Why. But he talks about businesses, and this relates to what you're doing right now. He talks about that people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. And when you were talking about this process and how I can just feel it coming off of you, this authenticity behind this brand, that is, my opinion, what's going to make you successful, probably even more than the actual process that you're talking about of this, you know, authentic product you're making. Because in the world of marketing, he says that people buy why you do it, not what you do. Because, you know, there's a million gazillion brands of whatever, but people want to buy something that represents them. Like they buy a particular brand of car because of what it says about them, not because of how well it's made or whatever. You know what I mean? And there could be a component to that, but do you get what I'm saying? And I'm wondering if that will be part of your success.
But it's also part of my failure.
Why?
Because only I can tell my story, and my passion flows from me. So when I fly to Texas and I go all these places, it's me doing the meetings. It's me doing the tastings. It's me doing all this stuff.
You are the brand, yeah.
I am the brand. And when I've had people go try to do it, and they failed miserably, you know, because their passion's not behind it. The drive's not behind it, you know. So you can only do so much by yourself, kind of thing, you know. And so, and that's good, because, again, I'm not looking to take over the world, you know. You know, it's not what I'm trying to do. I mean, I had a meeting with a guy. They have a new tequila brand coming out. And I was chatting. He has a friend of his was a big actor that he went to college with. And I was just asking him, I was like, just having a conversation. I go, so how much money did you raise, and what are you rolling? He goes, well, we raised about $1.5 million. It's like, huh. And he's like, what did you raise? Well, I raised about almost $50,000, including my money, kind of thing, you know. And that's good. That was great to get it going. But it was such a stark difference of,
right. But
he will be over. You know, he'll have media stuff everywhere, and you'll see it everywhere, kind of thing, you know. And you won't see me. You'll see my stuff every once in a while bounce around, kind of thing. But you have a tendency of getting, I wouldn't say jealous, but a little bit. But at the same time, and go, that's not why I did it. You know, stay, you know, to thyself be true. Focus on what you're doing, and don't worry about. And I always tell team guys this, man. Don't worry about anybody else's team. Don't worry about that team. Worry about your team, worry about yourself, and continue the path that you were doing, as long as it's the right path. That's the key thing.
That's exactly how I feel about this show. I've had so many people talking to me about, like, oh man, you need to push hard and get monetized. You could make a living doing this, and you could And I'm like, you know what? If God wants this to explode and multiply and reach more people, that'll happen. But in the meantime, I'm going to, like you said, I'm going to stay true to what I do, why I'm here and why I'm doing it. And I'm good with that. I'm good with that, whatever comes of that, because that's a fulfilling thing for me.
It is. And if you find something that suddenly wants to take you to a big giant leap and you're skipping steps, it's probably not the right thing, or something weird about it. It ain't going to work out. I've already come across that a couple times, and like, this isn't it. Yeah, this isn't it. We're going to get you to Disney. We're doing all this stuff. I'm like, are you really? And I humor it and let them ride with it, but I kind of keep my path and then kind of let them do the little thing, and like this. I know, okay, if that happens, great, but I need to continue the path, keep rowing the direction I'm going, and maintain the path, the compass has me. But yeah, so it's interesting out there. The business world, like I said, everything north of the border has just been interesting. A lot of good people help me out, and I don't ride this, so you see a lot of brands, the military really kind of push the veteran, push the brand. I really don't do this with this. I try not to, because I treat Oaxaca agave as one of my kids, and it has to grow on its own legs and grow its own thing. Now, it gets me in the doors. No doubt about that. I still have to earn my way when I get in those doors, because relationships are. If I tell anybody right now, man, relationships in life is what is key in life. Maintain good relationships, build great relationships, because they'll help you get in the doors. And it's not about trying to use them or anything, and you'll help each other through life. And that's how people and things happen. You have to be able to assist each other to promote each other and get it around. We need people. You have to have people. The whole amateurs talk tactics, professionals talk logistics. It truly is. I can go down there and work in the fields all I want and be like kind of tactical side, but it truly is the logistics of friends and family that make things happen, things move kind of piece.
Right.
That's his life.
I'm excited for you, Sean. I really am.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been
that's cool.
It's definitely been it still continues a heck of a ride, and it's growing.
I bet it is.
Now I'm trying to learn business, like, okay, I got this and focus. But I'm like, man, how much do you have to, Sean? If you continue with the fundamentals and be good at the fundamentals and understand the fundamentals of business, you don't have to overdo it. Don't go overboard. Just stick. There's ways to stay within those lines, without getting overboard in business. So that's what I'm trying to figure out now.
There's no reason you won't be successful if you continue doing what you're doing. I have no doubt in my mind. I'm really honored that you came on the show. I really, really am. You were a great recommendation, and you didn't have to do it. You kind of did your due diligence, which I would expect from you. And so I do appreciate that you decided to take a chance and come on the show.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it for Christian for recommending it. He came to me and goes, "You need to get on Laura's show." And I was like, "All right, let's take a look at it." And
good people lead me to more good people. Isn't that funny?
That's everything, man. That's the other thing in relationships, right? They build up and go, "You need to go talk to so and so. His story is amazing," and kind of thing, or that, Like I got a text today from a friend, goes, "Hey, I got so and so here and here. You need to come chat with him." He owns a lot of restaurants, and he'd love to talk to you and talk to your mezcal kind of thing, One of the things I do, I don't know if you see in the picture, so I took in one of my old gun cases, I refoamed it, recut it out. It fits all 4 of my bottles and my 4 glasses, so I carry that gun case to
oh my gosh, really?
Tasting. Yeah, it kind of represents my old career, my old life, and then they open it up.
I love that.
Bottles there, and it looks fantastic, and people love it. And I've actually taken, I've built 5 of the gun cases now, and I give them to different military charities, the Combat Warrior Foundation. I did a couple other ones too, and whatever they auction it off for, they keep all the money for. I think the Combat Warrior Foundation of East Texas, they auction theirs off for $1,100, and all the money goes back to the Combat Warrior Foundation out there. So
what a great idea!
Yeah, and so people auction it off, and then they got 4 mezcals, and 4 etch glasses, and a gun case, and it's kind of unique kind of piece.
That is really unique. That is awesome. Can people buy? I wonder if. Yeah. Well, you can't sell alcohol over a website, or you can.
You
can you?
Yeah, we sell online. Yeah. We have an online store.
You don't have that as a package, though, do you? Because all my gun friends would be all over that.
The reason I haven't done it yet is that it would be custom. That's how it looks. So I'm not going to order. I'm not going to build. I'm not. We really don't have the financial backings to go buy 20 gun cases, especially Pelican cases or something like that.
Yeah, they're expensive.
Yeah, and I try to do it. I try to focus on American. I have my American family and my Mexican family. And I try to bring those 2 together in that. So I try to look at the boxes being American made, if I can find American price. And if it's custom one, then that's what I do. And I build them out. I built one for the Zellner Foundation too. They help veterans in getting into golf. And I gave them a box, and they auctioned it off at their big charity event too. I think they got less than $1,000 for that big charity. But yeah, man, everybody wants, and you can see it on there. I will build a custom one. I'm still developing it and trying to figure out little things that I want to change up with the brand label on it. because when you open it up, it's cut out. A couple of it has the American flag right in the cutout, as you open it up.
Oh, cool.
Stuff like that too.
Wow.
But yeah, still working that process too, and working it all out. But there's always possibilities. It's kind of, you have to kind of, it's kind of like navigating your way through the egos kind of thing, right? You got to navigate your way through all these little options that people think you have, and then to what really sticks and what holds to your brand. Kind of piece. And the gun case is, I've had several people approach me about doing it. And when I get around to it, I'll look at doing it, like building my own charity. It'd be Mako 05, which is my call sign overseas, and that would be our charity. But when I get around to it, there's so many other good charities right now that I would rather kind of put money to those charities. Why do I need another charity, here, when I can take, donate money from collective whatever and push to those certain charities. The other charity I want to do is down in Mexico. So in Mitla, like I said, my other family is doing a charity down there for soccer fields or something to kind of give. It's so important to give back to those who took care of you. And so that's what I want to do is those communities, the special operations community, and then my community down in Mitla, is try to give money back to them, even though they're making money from we're doing this thing, but give back to the community that took care of you, brought me in. Yeah, very important. It's important to me. It's, my heart is very important to me to take care of those people. Yeah. That's it.
I can definitely see why Christian highly recommended you.
I was talking to Christian today, as a matter of fact, this morning about something else, silly stuff.
Oh, yeah? That's cool.
Christian's he's always got something going on, man.
I know. He's a unique human, that is for sure.
He is.
Never met anyone like him.
When I met him, he told me he was an ultra marathon. I was like, really? You're kind of heavy for an ultra marathon.
Yeah. You would not guess, would you?
No, you would not.
Yeah.
But he's
wild.
Solid dude, man. He's always there to help me out. Yeah. Matter of fact, he's a plank holder in Oaxaca. He contributed a little bit of money to help build my foundation.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
He has a great heart for sure. Well, Sean, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I wish you all the best. I hope your business just takes off. I don't know what I could do to help that, but this is maybe my small part in trying to do that. I'll plug the website one more time for those of you that are listening and not watching. It is Okanagave. Did I get it right that time?
Okanagave.
Oh, sorry. It's so hard to pronounce. You need a Hakuna Matata song to go with it, and then we could all remember.
I gotta work on that next.
Yeah. He is on YouTube. He's on Instagram and Facebook under the same name that he just said that I can't say very well. So you guys can go check him out there. It's just been a really fun time, and I knew it would be, and I really appreciate your time today, Sean, and I wish you all the best in your business ventures, in your family, and everything else in your life.
I appreciate that. I appreciate listening to me and my stories and helping push it. And anything I can do for you too. If I come across any individuals that you might want to talk to, I'll push them your way because I got a bunch of characters that I know. So
I bet you do know some characters. All right. Thanks so much, Sean.
Thank you. Good night. Finding your way in life can be difficult. To do so, you often have to step into the unknown and earn your place once you find your path. Creating something meaningful requires dedication, desire, and above all, passion. The true essence of mezcal can't be gained from books. It must be experienced over time. Building trust and forming meaningful relationships through hard work, overcoming obstacles, and caring deeply about the process lies at the heart of Okanagave. It's not the equipment that makes the difference, but the people behind the process. Okanagave is more than just a drink. It's a commitment to quality over quantity. It stands as a lion among the sheep, and we believe we're crafting some of the finest mezcal in the world. My name is Sean, and I am the founder of Okanagave. Join us on this journey where every sip embodies culture, connection, and the profound depth that is Okanagave mezcal. Mezcal is la vida.